Welcome to World Information HD, your go-to source for the most fascinating and surprising facts from around the globe. Today we're diving into a tiny object that holds a huge secret: the humble 1-cent coin. That's right, the classic Lincoln Wheat Penny, minted in the United States between 1909 and 1958, might look like common change, but in the world of coin collecting, some editions are worth millions of dollars. In this video, we'll reveal the top 13 rare and valuable Lincoln Wheat Pennies, the ones collectors will stop at nothing to acquire. We'll explore what makes them so special, from ultra-low mintages and designer initials to rare minting errors and surprising wartime metal changes. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just curious about what might be hiding in your pocket change, you'll want to stay until the end. You might just find the next legendary coin. Let's take a close look at these remarkable pennies, their stories, their histories, and their mind-blowing values. Ready? Let's go! In the world of coin collecting, there are a few treasures that seem almost ordinary to the untrained eye, small pieces of copper that most people would overlook in their pocket change. Yet, among these tiny artifacts of American history, some are worth small fortunes. One such coin is the United States of America 1941 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, a coin that may look simple, yet hides an astonishing story and incredible value behind its worn copper surface. Let's take a journey back in time, to 1941, a year filled with historic change. The world was on the brink of global war, with World War II already raging across Europe. The United States had not yet entered the conflict, but the winds of war were blowing across the nation. In factories, men and women worked tirelessly to produce military equipment, ammunition, and supplies that would soon support the Allied effort. Copper, an essential metal, was in high demand for industrial and military use. Yet, it was also the same metal used to mint the humble Lincoln Wheat Penny. The 1941 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny was struck at 3 different mints that year: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But today, our focus is on the 1941 no-mint mark penny, which was minted in Philadelphia, the oldest mint in the nation. Coins from this mint bore no identifying letter, meaning if you look closely under the date and see no small d or s, you are holding one from Philadelphia. At first glance, it might look like any other old penny, the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, his profile dignified and calm, designed by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse, 2 simple wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, symbolizing prosperity and hard work, values that define the American spirit. But what truly makes this coin special isn't just its design or its history. It's the rare condition and hidden varieties that can make it worth thousands of dollars today. You see, not all 1941 wheat pennies were created equal. Millions of them were minted, over 887 million from Philadelphia alone. That means for most people, a 1941 penny might seem common, maybe even worthless beyond its 1-cent value. But coin collectors, known as numismatists, know that rarity isn't always about how many were made. It's about how many have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, or how many carry a unique minting error that makes them one-of-a-kind. So, what exactly makes the 1941 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny so desirable? First, let's talk about its condition. The higher the grade of preservation, the higher the value. Coins are graded on a scale known as the Sheldon scale, ranging from 1 to 70. A penny that has been circulated and shows wear might grade somewhere between 3 and 20. But a coin that was never used, one that remained untouched in a collection or roll, could be graded 65 or higher, referred to as gem uncirculated or mint state. These coins shine with original luster, showing no signs of handling, and can command extraordinary prices at auctions. Another fascinating aspect is minting errors. During the rush to produce coins for the wartime economy, even the most careful machines sometimes made mistakes. Doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, and repunched mint marks are some of the most sought-after errors. For instance, the 1941 doubled die verse variety shows noticeable doubling in Lincoln's profile and the date, an incredibly rare and collectible version of the coin. If you happen to find a 1941 penny with these features, you could be looking at a treasure. Collectors also love this penny for its historical context. Think about it. This tiny coin was made before America entered World War II. It circulated through the hands of Americans buying newspapers that headlined, "Pearl Harbor bombed," and "U.S. declares war." It may have been part of a soldier's farewell gift, a child's savings jar, or a worker's pay in a factory producing war materials. Each coin carries the silent memory of those times, a story embedded in copper. The wheat penny itself holds a special place in American history. It was minted from 1909 to 1958 and was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, Abraham Lincoln, rather than an allegorical figure. It was designed to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth, and its wheat stalks represented the nation's agricultural roots. For decades, these pennies circulated through every corner of America, symbolizing the hardworking spirit of the people. The 1941 version was among the last full copper issues before wartime changes altered the coin's composition. In 1943, due to the critical need for copper during World War II, the U.S. Mint temporarily switched from copper to zinc-coated steel to conserve the metal for war production. That means the 1941 wheat penny represents one of the final pure copper issues before that major transition, making it historically significant as well as valuable. Now, imagine coming across a 1941 penny today. Perhaps it's sitting unnoticed in a jar of old coins, a family keepsake passed down through generations. Most people might glance at it, see the date, and toss it back without realizing that they could be holding a piece of history worth far more than a cent. That's why collectors always advise, check your pocket change carefully. Some of the rarest and most valuable coins ever discovered were found in everyday circulation. So, how do you know if your 1941 no-mint mark penny is valuable? Let's go step by step. First, examine the coin's condition under good light. Does it still have its original copper shine? Are the fine details of Lincoln's beard, coat, and hair still visible? Are the wheat stalks on the back sharp and clear? If so, you might have a high-grade example worth professional evaluation. Second, check for errors or doubling. A doubled die obverse, where the date or lettering looks slightly doubled, can add tremendous value. You might need a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to spot it. Third, consider getting it professionally graded by a trusted service such as PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation. Certified coins are more trusted by buyers and fetch higher prices in auctions. And finally, always research recent sales. Prices fluctuate depending on collector demand, market conditions, and grading trends. Even small details, like a coin's color tone, red, red-brown, or brown, can influence its worth. The world of coin collecting is as much about stories as it is about metal. Every coin is a time capsule, a snapshot of the era in which it was made. The 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny tells a story of a nation on the verge of transformation, a people resilient through uncertainty, and a design that has become iconic in American culture. Even the smallest coin can connect us to a grand past. It can remind us that history isn't just found in textbooks. Sometimes, it's resting in the palm of your hand. That's the magic of coins like the 1941 no-mint mark penny. They are not only pieces of currency but living echoes of the American story. Collectors all over the world seek out these treasures, knowing that finding one in top condition is like uncovering a piece of gold. Some of these coins have crossed auction blocks and stunned audiences with their final sale prices. Proof that even a penny can hold unimaginable worth when rarity, condition, and history come together in perfect harmony. So the next time you come across an old penny, take a closer look before you dismiss it. You never know what secrets it might hold or how much it might be worth. Because one ordinary-looking coin from 1941, with no mint mark, no shine, and perhaps a few scratches from age, could actually be a rare and valuable gem waiting to be rediscovered. Some collectors have been fortunate enough to find coins that changed their lives. Tiny copper discs that sold for staggering amounts. The thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, and the pride of owning a piece of American history make this hobby endlessly fascinating. The year was 1942, a time when the world was at war, when factories across the United States were roaring day and night, and every piece of metal was considered a precious resource for the war effort. Amid this great turmoil, a small copper coin quietly entered circulation, the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny, minted at the Denver Mint. To most people back then, it was just a simple 1-cent piece, a penny for candy, a newspaper, or the gumball machine at the corner store. But today, that same coin, depending on its condition and rarity, has become a collector's dream, a valuable piece of American history that tells a fascinating story from the heart of World War II. Let's go back to understand what made this penny so special. The Lincoln Wheat Penny, first introduced in 1909, was designed to honor the great President Abraham Lincoln on his 100th birthday. Created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, this iconic design became one of the most recognized in U.S. coinage history. The obverse, or the front of the coin, features a detailed portrait of Lincoln, while the reverse carries 2 wheat stalks curving around the words, 1 cent, symbolizing prosperity, agriculture, and hard work, the foundation of America's progress. Now, the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny stands out because of its timing. Minted during the height of World War II, when the U.S. government was beginning to ration metals like copper, tin, and nickel, this coin represents the end of an era. In 1943, just a year later, the U.S. Mint switched to producing steel cents coated with zinc, as copper was redirected toward making ammunition and military equipment. This makes the 1942 penny one of the last true copper Lincoln cents before the big wartime change. The D mint mark under the date tells us it was made in Denver, Colorado, one of the 3 U.S. mints operating during that time, along with Philadelphia and San Francisco. Denver's mint was known for high-quality strikes, which means its coins were usually well-made, crisp, and clean in detail. However, even the best-made coins didn't always survive the years without damage. Many of these pennies circulated heavily, passing from hand to hand for decades, used in daily transactions before collectors even realized their potential value. To truly appreciate the 1942 penny, one must understand the little details that make a coin valuable: condition, mint errors, and rarity. Condition plays a massive role in determining how much a coin is worth. A heavily circulated coin with scratches, discoloration, or wear might be worth only a few cents to $1. But a coin that looks almost brand new, what collectors call mint state, can command hundreds or even thousands of dollars, especially if it has that vibrant, original luster that gleams under the light as if it just rolled off the press yesterday. But what really ignites collectors' excitement are the rare errors and varieties that occurred during minting. The 1942 penny is no exception. During the minting process, several striking errors were reported: coins that had double dies, repunched mint marks, or off-center strikes. These unique flaws make a coin one of a kind, and that uniqueness drives up its desirability. For example, one of the most famous varieties for this year is the 1942 D/D repunched mint mark, where the letter D appears to have been stamped more than once, slightly overlapping itself. To the untrained eye, it might seem like a simple blur, but for experts, it's a signature of rarity. Collectors are also fascinated by the way history shaped these coins. Think about it. In 1942, while soldiers were fighting overseas and families were sending letters and war bonds back home, these small copper pennies were circulating through every hand, every store counter, and every pocket in America. They were a silent witness to a nation at war, a small but meaningful reminder of the economy, patriotism, and resilience of that generation. When you hold a 1942 penny today, you're not just holding a coin. You're holding a story of American craftsmanship, wartime scarcity, and survival. Every nick and mark tells where it's been, and every bright red-toned uncirculated example reminds us of the era when it was struck. Now, let's explore what collectors look for when they assess a 1942 penny. The grading scale for coins runs from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, flawless example. Coins graded between MS-60 and MS-70 are considered mint state, and those are the ones that truly shine in auctions. The 1942 in high grades, especially with full details on Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat, can fetch impressive prices. The color of the coin also plays a big role. Collectors describe copper coins in three categories: brown, BN, red-brown, RB, and red RD. The more red and lustrous the coin, the higher its value. Over the decades, copper naturally darkens due to oxidation, so finding a bright red 1942D penny with original mint color is like discovering a time capsule. But there's another aspect to this coin's story that makes it even more intriguing: its connection to one of the most significant transitions in U.S. coinage. When the government prepared to change the penny's composition in 1943, the Denver Mint was heavily involved in producing the last batches of copper coins. The 1942D thus symbolizes the end of the traditional copper era before the experimental steel cents of the following year. Collectors also seek coins that have what's known as full strike, where every detail, from Lincoln's bow tie to the wheat lines on the reverse, is clear and sharply defined. Even a small difference in the clarity of those wheat lines can double or triple a coin's value. Another fascinating part of the 1942D penny's legacy is how it became a sleeper gem in collections. For decades, it went unnoticed, quietly tucked into coin folders and piggy banks. Then, as the hobby of coin collecting grew in the 1960s and 1970s, people began to rediscover these old copper coins and realized just how few had survived in pristine condition. The Denver Mint produced over 206 million of them, but due to circulation, melting, and loss, very few have survived in mint condition today. Imagine walking through your grandparents' attic, finding an old coin jar, and spotting that faint 1942D. Beneath the dust, it might look ordinary, but under magnification, it could be one of the most valuable small treasures in your home. There's also something poetic about how these coins tie the past to the present. A 1942 penny that once bought a stick of gum might now be worth enough to buy a new smartphone, or even a small car, depending on its rarity and preservation. Every collector dreams of finding that one perfect coin, a survivor from a different time, untouched by wear and history's rough edges. When you think about coin collecting, it's not just about money, it's about connection. The 1942D penny connects you to an era when the nation united for a cause, when copper was precious, and when even a single cent had meaning. Every coin has its own fingerprint. No two are exactly alike. And that's what makes hunting for them so fascinating. Numismatists, or coin experts, often spend years studying die varieties, searching for subtle differences that distinguish one coin from another. The thrill of discovering a rare variation, like the double die obverse or a repunched mint mark, is what keeps collectors endlessly captivated. Some of these varieties are so scarce that only a handful are known to exist today, making them highly sought after in auctions and private sales. If you're lucky enough to find a 1942D Lincoln Wheat Penny in your change, or stored away in an old collection, the first thing you should do is check its condition carefully. Avoid cleaning it. Cleaning can destroy its natural patina and drastically reduce its value. Instead, keep it in a protective holder, preferably a coin flip or a slab, to preserve its surface. Then, you can compare it to professional grading standards or even have it certified by trusted grading companies like PCGS or NGC. A coin with official certification will always carry more value, credibility, and demand among collectors. As time goes on, these coins only become rarer. Many have been lost, corroded, or melted down over the decades, meaning every surviving example increases in historical and collectible worth. The story of the 1942D Lincoln Wheat Penny is not just about copper and mint marks, it's about endurance. It's about how something so small can hold such immense history and emotion. Today, if you hold one in your hand, you're not just holding a cent from 1942, you're holding a tangible piece of the American story. It's a token of resilience, a symbol of a nation in its most challenging years, and a testament to how even the smallest things can carry the greatest value when time gives them meaning. The story of the 1951 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny is one that continues to fascinate collectors, history lovers, and coin enthusiasts around the world. At first glance, this penny might look like just another old coin tucked away in a jar, hiding among other copper-colored cents from decades past. But once you begin to uncover its story, you realize it represents far more than just a piece of metal. It's a time capsule from post-war America, a symbol of the nation's resilience, and a potential treasure that could be worth thousands today. The 1951 Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck during an era when America was experiencing significant change. The Second World War had ended just a few years earlier, and the country was adjusting to a new economic boom. Factories were back to producing goods for consumers instead of war supplies, families were buying homes, and a sense of optimism filled the air. Yet, hidden within this new era of prosperity were millions of little copper coins, coins that would later become symbols of American history, art, and craftsmanship. In 1951, the United States Mint produced Lincoln Wheat Pennies at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint, which did not place any mint mark on its coins, struck hundreds of millions of these pennies. Because of that, the 1951 no-mint mark penny may not seem particularly rare at first glance. However, as collectors know well, the story of a coin's value is not just about how many were made, it's about how many survived in pristine condition, with clear details, original luster, and minimal wear. The design of the 1951 penny remains one of the most beloved in American coinage. On the obverse, or front side, you find the enduring image of Abraham Lincoln, America's 16th president, designed by Victor David Brenner. His solemn expression, sharp details, and dignified posture reflect the gravity of his leadership during one of the most divided times in U.S. history. The word liberty stands proudly to his left, while the phrase, "In God we trust," arches above his head, sentiments that echoed the national spirit of faith and perseverance. On the reverse side, the design showcases 2 elegant wheat stalks that curve gracefully along the edges, framing the bold words, "1 cent," and "United States of America." Above them reads the Latin phrase, "E pluribus unum," meaning, "out of many, one." This iconic, wheat reverse design had been used since 1909, when the Lincoln cent was first introduced, and continued until 1958. The wheat stalks were meant to symbolize the nation's agricultural roots and prosperity, a fitting tribute for a nation that was rebuilding and growing after years of war and hardship. What truly captivates collectors about the 1951 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny, however, is the mystery of condition and rarity. While millions were minted, only a tiny fraction were preserved in near-perfect condition. Most were circulated through everyday commerce, used to buy candy, newspapers, or a morning cup of coffee. Over the years, these coins developed wear, scratches, and discoloration. Yet, a few fortunate examples were tucked away, forgotten in drawers, sealed in old coin rolls, or stored in mint sets. When one of these exceptional coins resurfaces, bright red in color, gleaming with its original copper shine, it becomes a gem in the eyes of collectors. These uncirculated examples, known as mint state coins, are graded on a 70-point scale by professional services like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC. A coin graded MS-60 or higher is considered uncirculated, while an MS-65 or above is regarded as gem quality. The value of a 1951 no-mint mark wheat penny depends heavily on its grade and appearance. In average circulated condition, it might only be worth a few cents, just a small piece of nostalgia. But when preserved in exceptional condition, its value can climb dramatically. The sharpness of Lincoln's hair, the smoothness of the fields, and the brightness of the original red color are all factors that determine how much a collector is willing to pay. The color of the coin plays a surprisingly big role as well. Copper coins are graded not only by their condition but also by their color. Red, red-brown, and brown. A red penny, which retains its original mint luster and shine, is far rarer than a dull brown coin that has aged over time. A bright red 1951 penny can be a breathtaking sight, its fiery color reminiscent of the day it was struck, untouched by circulation or oxidation. Some collectors even search for subtle varieties and errors that can make their 1951 penny stand out even more. For example, pennies that were struck slightly off-center, have doubled lettering, or show weak strikes can attract the attention of numismatists who specialize in minting errors. Each of these variations tells its own story of how coins were produced in the bustling mint facilities of mid-century America. Beyond its monetary worth, the 1951 penny also carries a deep cultural and emotional value. Imagine a young child in 1951 receiving one of these shiny new pennies as change at a corner store, marveling at the face of Abraham Lincoln glinting in the sunlight. Or picture a soldier returning home from the Korean War, handing a penny to a loved one as a token of luck and love. These coins weren't just currency, they were tiny pieces of American life, exchanged in millions of small, human moments that make up the fabric of history. Today, coin collectors, both seasoned experts and beginners, are always on the lookout for these historical treasures. Coin shows, online auctions, and estate sales often feature Lincoln Wheat Pennies, with the 1951 no-mint mark variety being a popular choice for its beauty and accessibility. For some collectors, it represents a connection to the past. For others, it's a smart investment in a piece of history that only grows more valuable with time. Finding a 1951 no-mint mark Lincoln cent in your own change jar might not seem likely, but it's not impossible. After all, coins have a way of resurfacing in the most unexpected places. Some of the finest examples discovered today have been found in forgotten collections passed down through generations, or in old bank rolls left untouched for decades. To identify if you have a valuable one, start by examining the coin carefully under good light. Check for the absence of a mint mark below the date. If it's blank, it was struck in Philadelphia. Then, look at its surface. Does it still have a reddish shine, or has it darkened to brown? Are the details of Lincoln's beard, eyes, and coat still sharp? If the coin looks unusually clean, uncirculated, and free from major scratches, it might be worth having it professionally graded. Professional grading not only confirms its authenticity but also gives you an official record of its condition and potential value. Many collectors have been pleasantly surprised when what seemed like an ordinary coin turned out to be a hidden gem worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The world of coin collecting thrives on stories like these, moments when history, rarity, and beauty align perfectly. The 1951 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny stands as a timeless reminder that sometimes, the smallest things can carry the greatest value. Each coin represents a piece of the American journey, a tangible link between the past and present, and a testament to how even humble beginnings can lead to remarkable discoveries. So the next time you sift through your old coins, don't rush. Take a closer look at every penny. Examine the year, the condition, and that tiny space below the date where a mint mark might, or might not, be. Because in that small, gleaming circle of copper could lie a story of America's past and a fortune waiting to be uncovered. For collectors and enthusiasts alike, the 1951 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny is more than just a coin. It's a treasure that embodies history, craftsmanship, and the enduring fascination of numismatics. And if you're lucky enough to find one in absolutely pristine condition, bright red, and uncirculated, its true worth might surprise you. Because one such exceptional example of the 1951 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny has been sold for an astonishing amount, reaching a remarkable value of $38,675. In the world of coin collecting, some treasures lie hidden in plain sight, nestled deep within old jars, tucked inside forgotten drawers, or buried among the pocket change we spend every day. One such fascinating piece of history is the 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark. A simple, small copper coin that might seem ordinary at first glance, yet it holds a story of craftsmanship, wartime history, and the potential for unexpected fortune. Today, we're going to uncover everything about the 1952 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny, its design, background, errors, grading details, and how this seemingly common coin can fetch jaw-dropping prices in auctions across America. Let's step back to 1952, a time when the United States was still healing from the aftermath of World War II. The economy was rebuilding, factories were booming, and the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins to meet the needs of a growing nation. In that year, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 186 million Lincoln cents. These coins didn't carry any mint mark, as Philadelphia's minting tradition at that time didn't include one. Yet, among these countless pieces of copper, A few were struck with such perfection, preserved so well, or contained subtle minting anomalies that today, they have become valuable collectibles. The 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny follows the same beloved design introduced in 1909 by sculptor Victor David Brenner. On the obverse, or front side, we see the dignified portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, whose steady gaze and strong profile symbolize unity and freedom. Above his head is the familiar motto, "In God We Trust," to the left the word, "Liberty," and to the right the date, 1952. The absence of a mint mark below the date confirms it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the reverse design known as the wheat ears, or wheat reverse. Two stylized wheat stalks curve gracefully along the sides, enclosing the inscriptions, 1 cent, and United States of America. Just above them rests the motto, E pluribus unum, Latin for, out of many, one. This simple yet powerful design embodies America's agricultural roots and national strength, a reflection of the country's soul during the early 20th century. Now, even though the 1952 penny is made of humble copper, its true worth lies in rarity and condition. The composition for this coin is 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a classic bronze alloy used before the switch to zinc-coated steel in 1943 and later to copper-plated zinc in 1982. These older copper coins have a distinct reddish-brown tone, often admired by collectors for their warmth and history. But what makes some of these 1952 pennies so special that collectors are willing to pay hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars for one? It all comes down to three main factors: condition, rarity of errors, and demand. Let's begin with condition. Coin collectors, or numismatists, use a grading scale that ranges from good to mint state, MS. The higher the grade, the sharper the details and the fewer the marks or scratches. Most 1952 pennies found in circulation today are worn from decades of use. However, a coin preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially one with a bright, original red luster, can command astonishing value. Those graded MS-65 or higher by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC are especially sought after. For example, a 1952 penny in average circulated condition might only be worth a few cents above its face value. But once you move into the higher uncirculated grades, the story changes dramatically. A gem-red example, with no signs of wear and full mint brilliance, can reach hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on its visual appeal and rarity. Collectors are willing to pay top prices for coins that look as if they were minted yesterday. The second major factor is minting errors. During the early 1950s, minting technology wasn't as advanced as it is today. Mistakes occasionally occurred during production: double strikes, die cracks, off-center strikes, and repunched mint marks, though the no mint mark version wouldn't show this particular type. Some 1952 pennies display minor die variations or double die errors where parts of the design, like the date or lettering, appear slightly duplicated. These errors are rare and can increase a coin's value dramatically. One of the most fascinating varieties is the double-dyed verse, where the date or lettering seems to have a shadow or a ghost-like doubling effect. Another popular one is the die error, a small die crack that appears between the letters B and E in the word Liberty. While these might sound like small imperfections, they make each coin unique, like fingerprints of history left by the minting process itself. The third factor, demand, is perhaps the most influential. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series, running from 1909 to 1958, is one of the most collected coin series in U.S. history. Collectors love the story, the design, and the hunt for rare dates and errors. That means even coins with modest rarity can achieve high values simply because so many people want them. The 1952 no-mint mark penny, while not as scarce as the 1909 S VDB or the 1914 D, still holds an important place in the collection due to its age and nostalgic appeal. Beyond the technicalities, the 1952 Lincoln cent represents a time capsule from a pivotal era in American history. Imagine all the pockets this coin might have passed through: the veterans returning from war, the factory workers powering America's industrial boom, the children buying candy with their saved pennies. Every coin carries a trace of the lives it touched, and the 1952 no-mint mark penny is no exception. It's more than just metal, it's memory cast in copper. Now, let's talk about identifying and preserving these coins properly. If you come across a 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny, the first thing to check is the mint mark area. If there is no letter under the date, it's from the Philadelphia Mint. Examine the coin closely under good lighting or with a magnifier to spot any doubling, die cracks, or striking irregularities. Then, assess its color and condition, whether it's red, red-brown, or brown. Red coins are generally more valuable, as they've retained their original copper luster. If you believe you have a high-grade or error coin, consider submitting it to a professional grading service. Encapsulation not only confirms authenticity and grade but also helps preserve the coin's condition for decades to come. Store it in a cool, dry place, away from humidity or harsh cleaning materials. Cleaning a coin can actually destroy its value, so experts recommend leaving it untouched. Collectors often enjoy completing full sets of Lincoln Wheat Pennies, organized by year and mint. The 1952 penny plays an important role in that lineup, especially when it's found in uncirculated or near-perfect condition. Completing such a collection tells a century-long story of American progress, art, and economy, all through the evolution of a single small coin. Interestingly, the market for wheat pennies has been growing stronger in recent years. As more collectors enter the hobby, demand for older, well-preserved examples continues to rise. Online auctions frequently feature bidding wars for top-grade coins, and the 1952 no-mint mark penny is no exception. Its combination of history, aesthetic appeal, and potential rarity makes it a favorite among both new and seasoned collectors. So, what should you do if you discover one of these coins in your change or tucked away in an old collection? First, don't spend it. Take a close look, do your research, and consider its grade and features. Even a common-looking 1952 penny could be a treasure waiting to be recognized. And if you happen to find one in mint red condition, untouched and gleaming like it just left the press, you might be holding something worth far more than you'd ever imagine. Many people are surprised to learn just how valuable these coins can be. It's not uncommon for dedicated collectors and dealers to pay high prices for specimens that meet top-grade criteria or exhibit fascinating errors. The thrill of the hunt keeps the coin collecting world alive, a perfect blend of history, mystery, and discovery. In the end, the 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark is a beautiful reminder of America's enduring legacy. From the engraving of Lincoln's face to the fine details of the wheat stalks, it symbolizes resilience, growth, and timeless craftsmanship. Though it was once just a simple cent used in everyday transactions, today it stands as a collectible artifact that bridges the gap between the past and present. And for one extraordinary example of this coin, preserved in flawless condition, shimmering with its original red luster, sold at auction for an incredible $34,476. Welcome to World Information HD, where today we'll uncover another fascinating story hidden behind one of America's smallest treasures, the 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny. You might think a single cent couldn't possibly hold much value, but as you'll soon find out, this tiny coin from Denver has captured the attention of collectors around the world. Some of these humble-looking copper coins have turned into unexpected gold mines, bringing in thousands of dollars in the right condition. Let's journey back to the year 1954, a time when America was booming after World War II. The nation was full of optimism, the economy was strong, and industries were thriving. Television was becoming a household staple, Elvis Presley was just starting his music career, and the average American family was moving into the suburbs. In the midst of this post-war prosperity, the United States Mint continued to produce millions of Lincoln Wheat Pennies for everyday use. But among these countless coins, a few rare and extraordinary examples from the Denver Mint would one day become legends in the numismatic world. The Lincoln Wheat Penny had already been in production for more than 4 decades by 1954. Designed by Victor David Brenner and first issued in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, This iconic coin carried a design loved by Americans: Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and two stalks of wheat on the reverse. The wheat symbolized prosperity and growth, values that perfectly reflected America's spirit during that era. But behind this familiar design, each year's mintage holds its own story, and the 1954 D penny's tale is one that few people truly know. The D mint mark stands for Denver, Colorado, one of the U.S. Mint's busiest facilities at the time. In 1954 alone, the Denver Mint struck over 251 million Lincoln cents. That's a massive number, which might make you wonder, how could something minted in the hundreds of millions ever be rare or valuable? The secret lies in the details, in minting errors, die varieties, condition, and scarcity of high-grade examples that have survived decades of circulation. To understand why the 1954 D penny is sought after, we first need to appreciate the craftsmanship and challenges of coin production in the 1950s. The minting process was not as computerized or precise as it is today. Dies were hand-prepared and sometimes reused, which could cause subtle variations in design or striking quality. When coins were struck, small imperfections could occur, like doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, repunched mint marks, and other fascinating anomalies. These mistakes, often overlooked at the time, are exactly what collectors treasure today. One of the most desirable 1954 D varieties is the repunched mint mark, known among collectors as the 1954 D/D penny. This happens when the D mint mark was punched into the die more than once, slightly misaligned. Under magnification, the doubling of the mint mark is clearly visible, a distinctive and rare feature that immediately increases the coin's value. For enthusiasts, finding such a piece is like striking copper gold. Another intriguing detail lies in the die cracks and die chips that can appear around the date, letters, or Lincoln's coat. These small raised lines or blobs of metal form as dies wear out over time. Some collectors even nickname certain die cracks based on their shape, like BIE, errors, where a crack forms between the letters B and E in Liberty, creating the illusion of an extra letter, I. The 1954 D series has several fascinating examples of this, each adding its own charm and uniqueness to the coin. But of course, not every 1954 D penny is a treasure. Most were circulated heavily, passing through grocery stores, gas stations, lunch counters, and school cafeterias across the country. Many lost their sharp details, developed scratches, or became discolored over the decades. However, a select few coins managed to survive in pristine condition, tucked away in coin rolls, forgotten in drawers, or preserved by collectors who saw their beauty early on. These well-preserved specimens are where the real value lies. Collectors often grade coins on a scale called the Sheldon scale, which ranges from 1, poor, to 70, perfect. A typical 1954 D penny found in pocket change might grade somewhere between good, G, and very fine, VF, and while interesting, such coins usually have only minor collectible value. But when you find a coin in mint state, MS condition, particularly those graded MS 65 or higher, the difference is dramatic. The brilliant luster, crisp details, and sharp definition make such coins incredibly desirable. In the highest grades, the 1954 D Lincoln cent can command serious attention at auctions. Imagine a coin that was worth just 1 cent in 1954, now being appraised at thousands of dollars simply because it remained untarnished by time. These are the coins that spark excitement in the numismatic community, examples so flawless that they seem to glow with history itself. It's also important to understand the role of color in determining a penny's worth. Copper coins are categorized as red, RD, red-brown, RB, or brown, BN, depending on their surface color and level of oxidation. A fully red coin, one that retains its original fiery copper shine, is the most coveted. Over time, copper darkens, so finding a 1954 D wheat penny that still displays a bright red finish is incredibly rare. Combine that with a high grade, and you've got a coin that's truly exceptional. What's even more fascinating is how these coins become part of personal stories. Many people discover valuable 1954 D pennies by accident, perhaps while sorting through a jar of old change or cleaning out a grandparent's attic. The thrill of spotting that tiny D below the date and realizing it might be worth more than you ever imagined is a feeling that never gets old. In fact, the resurgence of interest in coin collecting, fueled by social media and online auctions, has made the 1954 D penny a star once again. Collectors and experts always recommend keeping an eye out for the smallest details: the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, the clarity of the lettering, and the presence of any doubling or repunching on the mint mark. Even a subtle variation can transform an ordinary penny into a valuable treasure. And while not every coin will be worth a fortune, every discovery tells a story of craftsmanship, history, and the enduring legacy of America's coinage. It's also worth noting that the 1954 D penny marked the final years of the wheat cent design, as the Lincoln Memorial reverse would replace it in 1959. This adds an additional layer of nostalgia and collectability, since these coins represent the end of an era. They're the last echoes of the original Lincoln design that started half a century earlier. For that reason alone, they remain beloved by collectors and historians alike. Even if your 1954 D penny isn't in mint condition, it's still a fascinating piece of American history. Think of it, a coin that might have passed through the hands of ordinary citizens during a time when gasoline was just 22 cents per gallon and the average house cost less than $20,000. Every scratch and mark on its surface tells part of that story, a silent witness to decades of change. As you hold a 1954 D Lincoln Wheat Penny, you're not just holding copper, you're holding a snapshot of mid-century America. You're holding the echoes of factory workers, farmers, soldiers, and families who helped shape the country we know today. And sometimes, that sense of connection is worth far more than money itself. But for those rare and pristine examples, the ones that defy time, gleam with untouched brilliance, and capture the perfection of the minting craft, their value is far more tangible. These are the coins that turn collectors' dreams into reality, the ones that make headlines and draw fierce bidding wars at auction houses. And believe it or not, one stunning 1954 D Lincoln Wheat Penny in top mint condition, with brilliant red luster and impeccable preservation, has sold for an astounding $28,745. So next time you come across an old penny, don't dismiss it as just spare change. Look closely. Study the mint mark, check the condition, and you might just uncover a hidden fortune from America's past. Because in the world of numismatics, history and treasure often go hand in hand, and even the smallest coin can tell the biggest story. That's all for today's deep dive into the remarkable 1954 D Lincoln Wheat Penny, a 1-cent piece that continues to amaze collectors and enthusiasts around the globe. If you enjoyed learning about this fascinating part of U.S. coin history, be sure to subscribe to World Information HD for more incredible stories about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the secrets that lie behind America's currency. Welcome to World Information HD, where we uncover fascinating facts, untold stories, and hidden treasures from the world of coins that might be sitting quietly in your pocket right now. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of the 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance but holds a tale of history, rarity, and surprising value. You might just be amazed to learn that this simple copper penny could be worth far more than you'd ever imagine. So sit back, relax, and let's journey through the history, mystery, and money behind the 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Cent. The year was 1956. The United States was booming with post-war prosperity. Elvis Presley's voice was echoing through jukeboxes, and shiny new cars rolled off the assembly lines in Detroit. Amid this era of optimism, millions of pennies were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, carrying the face of one of America's most beloved presidents, Abraham Lincoln. But what many people don't know is that not all these pennies were created equal. Some carried small but important differences that would later capture the attention of collectors around the world. Now, before we dive into why the 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln Cent is special, let's take a moment to appreciate the story behind the design itself. The Lincoln Wheat Penny, introduced in 1909, marked the first time in U.S. history that a real person's portrait appeared on a circulating coin. President Theodore Roosevelt personally commissioned sculptor Victor David Brenner to design the coin in honor of the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The front of the penny, or the obverse, features Lincoln's dignified profile facing right, while the reverse side proudly shows two stalks of wheat framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. These wheat ears not only symbolize abundance but also reflect the nation's agricultural heritage. Fast forward to 1956. It was one of the final years the wheat reverse design would be used, as the Lincoln Memorial design was just around the corner, debuting in 1959. This means that the 1956 wheat penny represents the closing chapter of an American classic, the end of an era that began with the early 20th century and stretched into the post-war boom. Now, let's focus on the details that make the 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln penny stand out. When we say, no mint mark, we're referring to coins minted in Philadelphia. During that time, the Philadelphia Mint did not place a mint mark on coins. So, if you flip over your penny and don't see a small D for Denver or S for San Francisco just below the date, that means your coin was born in the historic halls of the Philadelphia Mint. In 1956, the Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of pennies, which makes it seem like this coin would be very common. However, the magic lies in the condition, the small variations, and the details. While most 1956 pennies are worth only a few cents in worn condition, the real value comes from those coins that survived in pristine shape, untouched by time, circulation, or human hands. Imagine a penny that still shines with its original copper-red glow, as though it just left the mint presses yesterday. Such coins are known as uncirculated, or mint state, and they can be incredibly valuable to collectors. But it's not just condition that matters, it's also about errors and varieties. During the 1950s, coin production was done on massive mechanical presses, and sometimes, mistakes happened. A die could crack, a planchet could be misaligned, or the imprint could double. This led to what collectors call error coins. Some 1956 Lincoln Wheat pennies show a noticeable doubling on the date, or the lettering, Liberty, and In God We Trust. Others have die cracks that look like tiny raised lines running across the coin's surface. These unique minting mistakes make each coin one of a kind, and collectors love one-of-a-kind pieces. Imagine discovering a penny in your old jar of change and realizing that it's not just an ordinary coin, it's one of those rare varieties or perfectly preserved mint state examples. That's the dream of every coin enthusiast. And it's exactly why the 1956 no-mint mark penny has captured so much attention over the years. Collectors also appreciate the historical context of the 1956 penny. By the mid-1950s, America was changing rapidly. The Eisenhower era was defined by optimism, growth, and modernization. But even as the country looked toward the future, small pieces of its past, like the wheat penny, carried with them echoes of an earlier America. Each 1,956 cents serves as a little time capsule, a reminder of how far the country had come since Lincoln's time, and how much his legacy continued to shape the nation. When you hold one of these pennies, you're literally holding a piece of history in your hands. From the copper mine deep in American soil to the design crafted by one of the nation's greatest sculptors, every detail tells a story. The portrait of Lincoln, gazing resolutely toward the right, seems to symbolize progress, determination, and enduring leadership, qualities that still resonate deeply with Americans today. Now, let's talk about grading, one of the most important factors in determining a coin's worth. Professional coin grading services, like PCGS and NGC, evaluate coins on a scale from 1 to 70, with 1 being the most worn and 70 representing a perfect, flawless specimen. A 1956 no-mint mark penny in average circulated condition might only be worth a few cents, but in higher grades like MS65 or MS67, the value skyrockets. These coins display brilliant luster, crisp details, and no visible wear even under magnification. They are the cream of the crop, the kind of coins collectors dream of finding. Some of the most valuable 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln cents ever sold were those preserved in their original rolls or coin albums by lucky collectors who didn't realize what treasures they were holding. Over time, as the years passed and most pennies went through countless hands and transactions, those few untouched coins became increasingly rare. That rarity drives the price higher and higher, especially when collectors are competing for the best examples at auction. In fact, there have been verified auction records showing that top-grade examples of the 1956 no-mint mark penny have sold for astonishing amounts, all because of their near-perfect condition and historic importance. The beauty of coin collecting is that anyone, anywhere, could own a piece of history like this. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just someone with a curious eye for detail, all it takes is one lucky find. So, the next time you come across an old penny from the 1950s, don't be too quick to spend it or toss it in a jar. Take a closer look at the date, check for that missing mint mark, and examine the surface carefully. Who knows? You might be looking at a small copper coin that's worth more than you ever imagined. And that brings us to the fascinating question everyone wants to know: how much is a 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny really worth today? While most are common, those in exceptional condition, especially with strong red luster and minimal marks, can fetch eye-popping prices from collectors. It's not just about metal value, it's about history, preservation, and rarity coming together in one coin. Every coin has a story, a journey from the mint to the marketplace, from pocket to piggy bank, and sometimes to a collector's showcase. And the 1956 no-mint mark penny is a story of endurance, a coin that has survived decades, seen generations change, and still shines bright as a reminder of the past. If you're lucky enough to find one of these gems in uncirculated condition or with a rare error, you're holding something extraordinary. Because one of these beautiful 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat pennies has been sold for an incredible amount, a value that will make you see your spare change in a completely new light. Yes, believe it or not, a rare, pristine 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny has reached a jaw-dropping price of $25,555. So, take another look at those old coins you have tucked away in drawers or jars. One of them might just be your hidden treasure, waiting to reveal its true worth. Thanks for watching World Information HD, where every coin has a story, and every story brings history to life. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating videos about rare and valuable coins from around the world. Who knows, your next penny might just be worth a fortune. Welcome everyone to World Information HD, the channel where we uncover the incredible stories hidden inside the tiniest pieces of metal in your pocket. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and surprisingly valuable coins in American history, the 1958 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. It might look like just an old copper coin, but don't let its humble appearance fool you. This tiny treasure has a rich history, hidden secrets, and could be worth far more than you ever imagined. So, get ready to explore the story behind a penny that changed how collectors view the Lincoln series forever. The Lincoln Wheat Penny is a true American icon. Introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, it replaced the Indian head cent and became the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. Designed by Victor David Brenner, its obverse displays the bold and dignified portrait of Lincoln, while the reverse shows two stalks of wheat curling along the sides, symbolizing prosperity, unity, and hard work. That simple design made it a symbol of hope and strength through wars, depressions, and a changing nation. Now, by 1958, the Lincoln Wheat Penny was already approaching the end of an era. It had been in circulation for almost half a century, and the U.S. Mint was preparing to transition to a new design, one that would soon replace the wheat stalks with the image of the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. So, the 1958 no-mint mark wheat penny represents the very last official year of this beloved design, marking the end of an important chapter in American coinage history. The 1958 pennies were struck primarily at two mints, Philadelphia and Denver. The ones produced in Philadelphia carry no mint mark, while those from Denver are marked with a small d below the date. Although the 1958 pennies were struck in huge numbers, over 252 million in Philadelphia alone, not all of them are the same. Hidden among these millions of coins are rare varieties, flawless strikes, and collectors' favorites that can turn an ordinary penny into a small fortune. When you hold a 1958 penny in your hand, you're holding a piece of American history from a fascinating time. The late 1950s were years of transformation. The Cold War was escalating, television was becoming a household staple, Elvis Presley was taking over the radio, and the U.S. economy was booming. People used these very pennies to buy candy, newspapers, or maybe even their first comic books. Every coin from that time carries a little piece of that story, and for collectors, that nostalgia adds tremendous emotional and historical value. Let's take a closer look at the coin itself. On the front side, you see the classic bust of Abraham Lincoln, his gaze directed forward, with the words, "In God We Trust." Along the top edge, Liberty, to the left, and the year 1958 just beneath his chin. It's a design so simple yet so powerful that it still defines U.S. coinage today. Flip it over, and you'll find the two wheat ears arching along the sides, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. Just above that, you'll see the phrase E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one. Every detail was carefully thought out to symbolize unity and prosperity in a changing America. While most 1958 wheat pennies are common, a few can fetch unbelievable prices depending on their condition, rarity, and unique characteristics. Collectors pay the highest premiums for coins in pristine condition, those that were never circulated and remain as shiny and flawless as the day they left the mint. These are called mint state, or uncirculated coins, graded on a scale from 1 to 70 by organizations like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC. Now here's where things get exciting. Even though the 1958 no-mint mark penny was mass-produced, there are some rare and special varieties that have captured the attention of collectors for decades. For example, there's the mysterious and famous 1958 double-die obverse penny, a coin so rare that only a handful are known to exist. On this incredible variety, you can see doubling on the inscriptions, Liberty, and In God We Trust, and sometimes even on the date itself. This happened due to a misalignment during the minting process when the die imprinted the design twice at slightly different angles. The discovery of the 1958 double-die penny caused a sensation in the coin collecting world. It became one of the most sought-after errors in U.S. history because of its extreme rarity, and the fact that it came from the final year of the wheat penny series. Only a few verified specimens have ever surfaced, making it almost mythical among collectors. If you ever come across a 1958 penny with visible doubling on the lettering or the date, handle it carefully, because that could be worth an enormous sum of money. Even regular 1958 no-mint mark wheat pennies can command solid prices if they're in high grades. Most circulated examples are only worth a few cents, but once you step into the upper grading levels, MS65, MS66, or higher, values rise dramatically. The redder and shinier the surface, the more desirable the coin becomes. You see, Lincoln Wheat Pennies were made primarily from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Over time, copper tones can darken or develop spots, but the rare ones that kept their original bright red color are the ones collectors crave the most. Imagine finding a 1958 penny that's been perfectly preserved, its copper glow untouched by decades of handling. That vivid, fiery red luster, sharp detail, and flawless surface can turn a simple penny into a collector's dream. Some of these top-grade examples have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars in auctions. And when you factor in varieties or unique minting errors, the value skyrockets. Speaking of errors, collectors are always on the lookout for unusual coins from 1958, those that show off center strikes, clipped planchets, or die cracks. Each mistake tells a story of how the mint's machinery wasn't perfect, and those imperfections can turn into treasures today. For example, a 1958 penny struck slightly off-center or on the wrong metal planchet can be worth dozens or even hundreds of times its face value. But the real gem of this year, the absolute superstar, remains the rare double-die penny. One known specimen in pristine condition was once sold for a staggering sum at auction, leaving the coin collecting world in awe. It's a perfect example of how something as small as a 1-cent coin can hold enormous historical and monetary value. Now, Imagine walking into an antique shop, sorting through a jar of old pennies, and spotting that magical 1958 coin. At first glance, it looks like any other wheat penny, brown, aged, and simple. But under a magnifying glass, you notice something odd about the lettering, a doubling that seems almost like a shadow. That's when the realization hits. You could be holding one of the rarest coins ever minted, a piece of history that collectors would dream to own. This is what makes coin collecting so thrilling, the adventure of discovery. Every coin has a story, a mystery, and a value that might not be visible at first. It connects us to history, to the people who once used it, and to the craftsmanship that shaped it. The 1958 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny is more than just an old coin. It's a symbol of America's past, a farewell to one of the most beloved designs ever created, and possibly a hidden treasure waiting to be found. So, before you spend that jar of old change sitting on your shelf, take a closer look. You might just find a 1958 penny gleaming back at you, waiting to tell its story. And who knows? It might not just be worth 1 cent, it could be worth a small fortune. The legacy of the Lincoln Wheat Penny continues to captivate collectors around the world. It's a timeless reminder of how history and art can come together in the smallest of forms. Every scratch, every gleam, every tiny imperfection adds to its tale. From the hands of a worker in 1958 to the fingers of a collector in the present day, this penny has traveled through time, carrying with it the essence of an era long gone, a simple yet powerful piece of America's story. And if you're wondering just how valuable one of these coins can be, brace yourself. Because one of the finest 1958 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat pennies ever discovered was valued at an astonishing $22,347. That's right, a single copper penny worth over $22,000. So check your coins carefully, because you might just have a piece of history, and maybe even a fortune, hiding right in your pocket.